Hello everyone, HAVTZA here, and thank you so much for joining this course. I've wanted to make a course for a long time now, and I've worked really hard to make this the best course and the most helpful it can be. So I really hope that you'll enjoy it and that you'll learn a lot. So first, introductions. I'm HAVTZA, as you probably already know, and I've been working as a freelance illustrator and animator since 2018. Getting most of my work through social media and taking jobs as an illustrator, general designer, character designer, and various animation roles in studios on a work-for-hire basis, as well as many independent productions for various clients, where I handle every world in the main animation pipeline and made my own independent productions. You have probably came here after seeing my work on social media, but they are only a small part of what I actually make, and all of my professional work is usually kept behind the scenes. Basically, all of the stuff that you see is just my calling card. Okay, now that you know a little bit more about my professional career, I'd like to introduce myself as a person. Although I have some following on social media, I almost never talk about myself, so most of you guys probably don't know where I'm from or even what my gender was. So I want you to know me a little bit more. One of the questions I do get a lot though, and that I always like answering, is why I got into animation in the first place. So, starting at the beginning, and very predictably, I've been making art from a pretty young age of about 5. But my biggest passion was actually science. And I didn't actually think I'll go on to make a career in art, because of its associated worst job prospects and my genuine love for science. In fact, before becoming a professional artist, I actually majored in physics, and I didn't really learn art formally until way into my professional career. And even then, I quit fairly quickly because I already knew that school's curriculum. Some of you maybe find it surprising and don't understand how this relates to animation, but we are getting there. So, when it came time for me to actually choose my career, I had a problem. A career in science is not what you see in movie, where you have a general scientist which can do everything. In reality, you go into a very small niche in a very small field, and take a special role in a team or research, and go to the very deep end of it. But for me, everything is interesting. I wanted to know the physics of how everything works, the biology of the body and of the different animals. I wanted to understand people through psychology and build buildings and machines with engineering. And this is where animation comes in. Because knowing animation completely is knowing how everything works, how everything looks, how everything moves and acts and by which rules, how to show these rules using drawing techniques, and how to combine them and break them, how to make fantastical creations that don't exist and make them look believable, and how to create great characters and make them relatable through acting like real people. Give their universes the depth and detail to make them feel lived in. With animation, you are creating your own universe. You know everything about it. You are the engineer and the architect who creates the cities and machines. You are the biologist who discovers the creatures and people. You are the actor who gives them emotion. And you are the physicist who calculates their gravity. You can almost say that animation is for people with God complex. With animation, I basically could have it all, because the more things you know, the better your craft becomes. And as an animator and storyteller, every single thing you learned is going to be useful in your work. Aside from the obvious art and design theories, I could learn mechanical physics to see how things move, optics to add realistic lights and colors to my scenes, acting to improve my character expressions, architecture and engineering to design my environments, and many other things like biology, medicine, history, literature, and cinema, all to add to my knowledge of storytelling. Every single thing around you becomes an inspiration, and the better your work becomes, the more things you notice in your real life. Also, the best part about animation? You only have to learn these things to the extent that you want to. You don't have to learn all the little details and calculations that make these subjects tedious when actually trying to work in the field. You don't have to put in the work to actually calculate the speed of an object, or if a building will be strong enough to stand. You don't have to practice your lines again and again to act them naturally. You don't have to memorize the names of every muscle and bone in the body, or the dates and names of every historical figure in your field. Truly, you can just go with whatever interests you and bring it into your work. As long as you have the artistic skills to pull it off, you can have everything. And considering that I like the actual process of drawing as well, this was the perfect job for me. Also, the fact that animation is in pretty high demand and can provide plenty of consistent job opportunities if you have the skill and work ethics to get them, certainly didn't hurt as well. This course, however, is not about any of these subjects. In this course, I will be teaching you the actual skills you need to bring all of these things together and represent them on the screen. All the way from coming up with ideas and keeping a consistent workflow, through the technical skills that you'll need to have to improve your techniques and quality of the craft, and the steps to getting them. You might have come to this course because you liked my work and wanted to make things my way. But this is not what this course is about. First of all, I myself don't have one single way of doing things. And I'll forever work hard to practice and improve my art. So making this current me the pinnacle and goal to which you need to aim for will be a disservice to you guys. The second reason is that my sense of aesthetics is not universal, and animation is so varied and free. If you are here, you probably have your own stories, your own characters, your own art styles. You have your own base process to drawing them, and they are all great and unique. There is no single way or style which is better, and with the right mindset, techniques and creativity, anything can make great animation. I want you to develop your own stories and your own styles with your own unique vision. I wouldn't want to just dictate to you what to do. I just want to give you the tools that will help you get your own ideas off the ground. And the last reason is that I've already been working as a professional animator for the last couple of years, and chances are that the amount of work I can handle in one sitting is bigger than what you can do, especially if you're just a beginner. As we're going to see, animation is extremely time-consuming and sometimes a very boring and repetitive process. I'd say that on average I draw and animate for around 10 hours a day. And on weeks and days before deadlines, I sometimes work up to 18 hours a day. This much work is not for every level, it's not a requirement, and it's not something that you can do out of nowhere. Learning how to work requires a lot of practice as well. Now, this course is about you. It's about giving you the tools and techniques that will make it possible to make your own work the best it can be. And learn it at your own pace so that you can enjoy it without getting overwhelmed. This course includes exercises, but I mostly encourage you to go along in the lesson and try each type of concept and movement that I'm going to demonstrate with your own version. I'll be given recommendation on each part in each lesson, and since animation is a very linear and streamlined process, I'll tell you which parts can be used in future lessons so you can build upon them instead of making the previous steps again for your new exercises. And also, I'll tell you what to keep in mind for the future lesson so that the new exercises won't overwhelm you and still be effective. In the end, I want you to go through this course from start to finish in your own level, because once you are done, you will have more experience, skills, and an understanding of the process that you can apply for your next project, and the next one and the one after that, each time honing your skills and getting more efficient. You will slowly be able to build your work stamina and steadily get better, instead of getting frustrated or frightened right at the beginning because you weren't quite as good at a certain steps in your first try, or something took you too much time and you gave up in the middle. Actually, when I first started animation, I wasn't prepared for the amount of work, I didn't know what I was doing, and I tried something that was way above my level. I remember it took me more than 4 days to make a sketchy and undetailed half head turn and a hand wave, and I was so frustrated I almost gave up and quit animation right then and there. So please, take your time, adjust to your level, and don't give up in the middle. This course is for learning, so just try to learn and enjoy it, and don't aim for perfection. With that out of the way, here is a review of the lessons we're going to have. In the pre-production section, we have a review of all the features of the software that I'm going to use throughout this course, an explanation on how I get my ideas, my mindset for avoiding burnout, and how I pace myself to have consistent work output, as well as balance professional and personal work. A lesson about the 12 classical animation principle, to which part of the process they relate, and when you will encounter and use them. We're going to have 2 lessons on character design. The first one focusing on your character's body and proportions, while keeping in mind how to keep them consistent and how to make them work using physics later on when animating them. And the second, about the details and aesthetics that are going to be used on your design, and how to create an effective design while keeping in mind movement and workload when deciding on your final design. Next, we're going to have 2 lessons about background design, covering composition, perspective, color theory, lighting design, as well as separating backgrounds to layers to make it easy for compositing. Next, we will be moving to the animation sections, where we have the first lesson explaining the basics of animation, the techniques on which every action is based upon, as well as some general approaches to animation and timing. Next, we'll have a lesson about making realistic movements with complicated objects, how to break them down into simple objects, and how to make the animation and action using the rules of physics and how they affect them. Next, we're going to have a lesson about animating objects and character details. We're going to learn how to represent different qualities of the objects using animation, and especially focusing on rigid and elastic objects, fabric, and hair. Moving on, we'll have a lesson about effects and how to use shape language, timing, and patterns to affect their look and the way that we're going to animate them, as well as how different effects are affected by different rules in physics. We're going to specifically cover fire, water, electricity, and effects relating to air. Next, we learned about animating with perspective in mind, how things move in a 3D space with different angles and distances from the camera, which is going to help us create more cinematic animation. And to complement it, we're going to have a lesson about camera movements and how to recreate them using Flip a Clip. The last lesson in the animation section is about editing and keeping flow and energy between cuts in your animation, which is an important part of directing. After finishing with all of the technical knowledge in the pre-production and animation stages, we're going to move into actual production. In this section, we're going to go over the actual steps in the animation pipelines and create an animation from start to finish. Starting with a lesson about storyboards and different storyboard types and techniques that are easy to use. Then a lesson about different ways I use to make rough animation from my storyboards. A lesson about how I clean up, plan, and color my animations using Procreate and Flip a Clip that can be replicated in every software that has an animation features and layer blending modes. And a lesson about how I composite my animation using Flip a Clip and Procreate, which is the last step in the animation pipeline. Finally, we're going to have a lesson about the main roles in the animation industry, my experience in it, and the pros and cons of working in a studio versus as a freelancer. And for the last lesson, we'll have the conclusion. Again, Thank you for liking my work and joining this course, and I'll see you next lesson to start your journey in animation. So until next time, bye!